My life has been a nightmare of abuse and betrayal. I was poisoned in police detention, and my family dog was killed. Bullied, hooked on meth, and falsely imprisoned, I fought for survival against a shadowy group. How did it escalate to my father's murder? English translation Part 1. I was born into a financially well-off family with both parents working as public servants. Since they were both employed, I believe my paternal grandmother cared for me. I do not have any memory of that time, but there is a Japanese saying, the soul of a 3-year-old lasts until 100, which makes me wonder whether my upbringing by my grandmother was deficient or if I was inherently autistic. I do not know. I ran away from kindergarten and ceased attending altogether. When I entered elementary school, I felt that I lacked both academic ability and communication skills compared to my peers. Later, we moved to Tsuruga Home, where I was bullied for 4 years by a group of students who were one grade below me and came from a Korean family. During my first year in junior high school, I stood up for a student who was being bullied, but then I became the target of bullying myself. Even the student I defended joined in the bullying against me, and in a moment of anger, I responded violently. After that, I completely stopped attending school in October of my first year. I began wandering outside during the day and was caught shoplifting. I was taken to the police, given a warning, and reflected on my actions. I was born into a financially stable household with both parents working as public servants. Since they were both busy with their jobs, I believe it was my paternal grandmother who mainly took care of me during my early childhood, although I do not recall much from that time. There is a Japanese proverb that states, "What is learned in the cradle is carried to the grave," and I sometimes wonder whether my early upbringing was insufficient or if I might have had a developmental disorder from the beginning. I ran away from kindergarten and ultimately stopped attending altogether. When I entered elementary school, I began to feel that I lacked both academic ability and communication skills in comparison to my peers. Later, we moved to Tsuruga Home, where I was bullied for 4 years by a group of students who were a year younger than me and part of a Korean family that had recently relocated to the area. Summary of my background, English translation Part 1. I was born into a financially stable household with both parents employed as public servants. Because they were both working, I believe my paternal grandmother primarily cared for me, although I do not remember much of that period. There is a Japanese saying that states the soul of a 3-year-old lasts until 100, and I often wonder whether it was the inadequate quality of my grandmother's parenting, or if I was born with autistic tendencies that led me to run away from kindergarten and eventually stop attending. By the time I entered elementary school, I already felt that I lacked academic ability and communication skills compared to others. Later, after moving to Tsuruga Home, I was bullied for 4 years by a group of students who were a year younger than me and were part of a Korean family that had recently settled in the area. When I started my first year of junior high school, I initially stood up for another student who was being bullied, but then I became the new target. Even the boy I tried to defend joined in the bullying. I became so angry that I retaliated and attacked someone, and afterward I stopped attending school. This occurred in October of my first year. During the daytime, I began wandering outside and was caught shoplifting. I was handed over to the police, given a warning, and deeply regretted my actions. After that, I became a recluse and started getting addicted to a Korean-made online computer game. Summary of my background, English translation Part 2. Eventually, I realized that I could not continue in that manner, so when I turned 17, I informed my father that I wanted to return to school. I enrolled in a correspondence high school called Withus High School, which was structured as a branch-type program, but I stopped attending due to difficulties with interpersonal relationships and my lack of academic ability. I went on to obtain a high school equivalency certificate. My father then recommended a technical school in Tokyo that was certified for the national third-class electrical license and had a high job placement rate. However, I withdrew shortly after enrolling due to academic and social struggles once again. I began working, but due to sleep disorders and difficulties in social interactions, I frequently quit jobs. I lived in Tokyo on funds sent by my parents, but since I could not become financially independent, they ultimately suggested I return home to Sendai. I was around 20 years old at that time. After my return, I encountered Ai Imadegawa, who had previously bullied me, and they remarked something like, "That guy could never hold down a job." Reflecting on it now, I think the bullying had never truly ceased. Subsequently, my parents assisted me in obtaining a truck driving license, so I did not face much difficulty in finding employment. However, my sleep disorder, social challenges, and complications from a botched surgery on my left ear, which left me partially paralyzed on that side, meant I could not maintain jobs for long. My last position was as a temporary factory worker for Toyota in Ohira Village. There, a Korean coworker provided me with chewing gum laced with methamphetamine. I overworked myself and developed a herniated disc in my back, which prevented me from continuing to work. That was in 2013. Summary of my background, English translation, Part 3. After that, I became reclusive again and developed an addiction to a Korean online game called Archie Age. I was bullied within the game, lost emotional control, and began ranting on message boards like 2channel. Then a Korean user with advanced computer skills possibly hacked my device, even though I had Windows security software installed. From that moment, my screen activity appeared to be monitored, and I continued to face harassment in the game, leading me to eventually quit. Later, my parents helped me obtain a large vehicle license, and I began working as a dump truck driver, a position that placed less strain on my back. However, once again, I could not sustain the job due to sleep disorders and social issues. Around this time, I met someone on a Skype channel who suggested that taking large amounts of over-the-counter cold medicine Braun would be enjoyable. I initially avoided it, believing it was dangerous. But in 2015, after falling into depression, I started abusing the medication and became addicted. Eventually, the effects diminished and I experimented with methamphetamine. I developed an addiction. Then a thug-like police officer from the Akita police arrived with a search warrant for meth. At that time, I had been attempting to abstain, but I was arrested for marijuana left behind by my cousin. I was terrified, and under threat and pressure, I falsely admitted it was mine. This incident occurred in December 2016. At the Akita Port Police Station, I was abused and even contracted the flu during my detention. I ended up making a false confession. After receiving a suspended sentence and being released, I learned that the police had leaked information to the Yakuza from whom I had purchased meth, informing them that I had informed on them. Consequently, I became a target for retaliation. I attempted to move to escape, but they continued to follow me. My father's financial support also dwindled due to his being scammed by a fraudulent investment company, so I applied for welfare. I was instructed to visit a hospital. I had avoided hospitals for over 10 years due to distrust stemming from the failed ear surgery. However, I finally went and was diagnosed with a sleep disorder and developmental disabilities. That was when I first realized I had a mental illness. Summary of my background, English translation, Part 4. Afterward, I fled to Sapporo to escape, but I was still being pursued. I became addicted to a mobile game called Ashtail, and a streamer named Kori mirrored and spread my gameplay, resulting in further harassment in-game. Wanting to become stronger, I started spending money on credit, which left me in debt and unable to sign a new mobile phone contract. After that, there were incidents of illegal intrusions into my home, and I was poisoned with harmful substances. I reached a mental breaking point and attempted to take my life by consuming 2 grams of methamphetamine, but I did not die. Later, I discovered that an intruding investigator had allegedly injected syphilis-infected bodily fluids into a syringe of meth, and I nearly contracted syphilis. Fortunately, my immune system prevented the infection. Terrified, I contacted the Sapporo Shiroishi police station and turned myself in. In the summer of 2020, I was arrested. It seemed that illegal investigators resided directly above the detention cell, drilling holes and possibly installing micro-cameras and devices. I was poisoned again and subjected to slander. Flyers and false information about me were sent to the police station. Consequently, I faced abuse while in detention. Eventually, I was transferred to a detention center, and my parents arranged for a temporary release. Even after being released, I could not fully comprehend who my persecutors were, and I was convicted in court. In the Sapporo Detention Center, toxic substances were allegedly poured into the tap water, so I gave up on appealing. Even in prison, I was poisoned, and it felt as though my brain became inflamed. I was later transferred to Kashiro Prison, where the abuse intensified. I was dosed with thinner, and the pressure on my carotid artery became unbearable, pushing me to the brink of suicide. Somehow, I endured. Summary of my background, English translation, Part 5. After my release, I returned to Sendai, but I was nearly killed again. I even joined the Soka Gakkai religious organization, hoping for protection, but it appeared that even they could not handle the scale of the group targeting me. On January 29, 2023, I was forcibly injected with methamphetamine and arrested once more. At the Miyagi Prefecture Yamato police station, I suffered further abuse. During Golden Week, the group I had long suspected called for their members to gather in Miyagi Prefecture. While the prefectural police were preoccupied with responding to the assembled members, my family and others were harmed by elements of organized crime. As a result, even the personal information of Miyagi police officers was leaked, and the police ultimately yielded to them. I was then transferred to Sendai Detention Center. There, under threats from this group, one of the staff allegedly administered poison that damaged my internal organs, and I almost died. To this day, I continue to suffer from lasting symptoms that resemble severe hemorrhoids. Story 2. My 20-year older cousin's games left me confused and traumatized. It's just a joke, right? She'd say while pinning me down, making me question my reality. Now, at 16, I'm haunted by the line between playful teasing and emotional abuse. How do I move forward? Bonjour à tous. Je souhaite vous demander sincèrement de ne pas critiquer ou de parler négativement de ce qui est produit. Je recherche véritablement des conseils et des avis mais aussi du soutien. Actuellement aide de 16 ans je vais vous raconter une histoire qui remonte à dix ans et qui a eu un impact si profond sur ma vie que j'en souffre encore aujourd'hui. Cette histoire est construite sur plusieurs événements. Il s'agit en effet d'une relation non sexuelle mais spéciale, avec un membre de ma famille qui a eu un impact psycho-émotionnel sur moi. L'histoire concerne ma cousine qui environ 20 ans de plus que moi. En gros, quand j'étais enfant, je courais partout, désirant jouer et exprimer tout ce qui me venait à l'esprit comme 80% des enfants. Ma cousine étant elle-même une jeune adulte à l'époque essayait souvent en me voyant jouer. Elle alors commence à jouer avec moi, par exemple, elle me chatouillait partout, ce que j'ai adoré et que je sollicitais encore et encore. Au début, notre relation était normale. Un jeune adulte aimant jouer, mais d'une manière différente de celle d'un enfant, et un enfant moi s'amusant à ma façon. Parfois, elle instaurait une sorte de dynamique de pouvoir avec les chatouilles. Par exemple, elle me demandait de deviner son âge et si je ne réussissais pas, je devais subir une nouvelle session de chatouilles. J'aimais beaucoup cela et je cherchais simplement à obtenir un maximum de chatouilles. Quand je ne pouvais plus en supporter, je décidais stop et elle s'arrêtait. À ce stade, tout semblait mignon sans contenu inquiétant. Cependant, la vraie problématique vient du côté obscur de l'histoire, les choses que les fates pour me taquiner ou me déranger, souvent à ma demande mais qui ne devraient absolument pas être fates à un enfant. Cela restait totalement inacceptable. Un exemple est alors que j'avais 4 ans, je lui ai demandé si elle pouvait s'asseoir sur moi sur mes genoux sur moi allons sur le canapé, et elle accepte en s'asseyant sur mon ventre. Je me souviens encore que cette demande déclenche quelque chose en moi. Une excitation psychosexuelle étrange qui en avait rien de sexuel, sans que j'en sois conscient. Elle en avait donc pas d'intention sexuelle. Elle a simplement répondu quelque chose comme ok mon chéri, un peu comme si par exemple tu demandes à ta mère de te préparer ton plat préféré. Je sais pertinemment qu'elle en avait pas d'intentions perturbantes, mais à cette époque je ne comprenais pas ce que je ressentais. Si en est quen grandissant que j'ai réalisé que ce type de comportement m'excitait d'une certaine manière. J'ai allonge les pieds croises, un peu comme si j'ai à la plage en train de la regarder. Elle était sur son téléphone puis un moment donné, elle commence à me chatouiller les pieds, me faisant éclater de rire en disant que je ne savais pas qu'elle allait me chatouiller. Ensuite, elle s'est relevée et je lui ai demandé de recommencer. Elle a répondu quelque chose comme non, c'est bon mon chéri. Après cela nous sommes partis manger et elle dit à mon père son oncle, je me suis assis sur lui. Mon père avait l'air un peu déçu. Ma tante était peut-être souriante tandis que ma mère semble triste. Ma réaction réelle à ce moment la restait floue. J'ai aussi un autre scénario mental qui me dit qu'en fait, si en est pas juste elle qui révèle ce qu'elle a fait, mais moi qui ai totalement perdu mon calme à cause de la guerre et que mes autres cousins ont essayé de me retenir. J'ai une image de moi étant très en colère, ainsi qu'une autre où je me sens juste guerre sans une grosse réaction. Je ne sais laquelle des deux est réaliste, mais je pense que celle où je ne regrette pas fortement est la véritable. Ma cousin n'aurait jamais dû s'asseoir sur moi, et tout le monde aurait dû rigueur au lieu de considérer cela comme un simple jeu. Après tout, c'est une dynamique de 24 ans à 4 ans. Cela constitue le premier fait. Plus tard, ma cousin m'a demandé si son ami faisait pas mal lorsqu'elle s'assait sur moi, j'ai répondu non car au fond, cela m'était agréable comme un massage. Je me souviens qu'elle s'était assise sur moi lorsque j'ai revu à 6 ans. À cette période, j'avais passé 3 jours chez ma tante, et j'ai également subi d'autres choses. Vous allez probablement erder chokes car encore une fois, elle me chatouillait beaucoup et ça ne me dérangeait pas. À cette époque, j'avais oublié son précédent comportement. À ce moment-là, j'ai commencé à ressentir un véritable amour pour elle. J'étais vraiment amoureux d'elle, simplement parce que je la trouvais belle, plus grande que moi et qu'elle était la seule à jouer avec moi, si que personne d'autre n'y faisait. Je ne comprenais pas à quel point tout cela était malsain. Quand elle avait 26 ans, il y a un moment précis qui m'a réellement marqué durant ces 3 jours de visite. Cela est la seule chose qui s'est produite pendant ces 3 jours. Nous Julians normalement puis un soir, alors que la coucher de solo face de paintamer la nuit, ella pris un drap et emadit, vins givais atasher. J edis in quiet dans le noir merm cc en edit pas totalement obscur, genie realises pas encore quil y avait une intention derrière cela, mais elle et très probablement réfléchi. J.I. refuse alors elle emma demand, pourquoi est-tu pour, en suit, elle appelle sa petite sœur, ma duxim cousin, qui avait également autour de 20 ans, et elle se sent mise à me manipuler pour me forcer à accepter quelque chose que je n'aurais jamais, except sans cette pression physique. Elle emma mise débat, emma enveloppe dans le drap, puis emma pause sur le canapé. Elle sent me si à quatre pattes au-dessus de moi, alors que je crois qu'elle allait me chatteler les pieds. En fait non, elle laisse Tomer says chevu sur moi pendant quelques minutes dans la semi obscurite, si qui était assez dérangeant. JSIs de me débattre comme un fou répétant sans cesse non arrête questi que tu fais sans me guerne non. Elle observait ma guerne avec un sourire de sate. O mais geniti fais rien de mal. Mes autres cousins et cousins agent là, en train de discuter de choses sans rapport avec ma situation comme si j'en étais pas là. J étais totalement ignore. Après quelques minutes horribles de panique, elle m'a finalement lâche et genie sais pas si était un hasard au ciel le savait. Elle demande allumer la lumière et à ce moment-là, J étais vraiment deranged. Genie supportais pas de voir sub cela. J crois que J.I. essa de cacher mon malaise, mais J.I. du lui faire comprendre d'une manière ou d'une autre que cela ne me touchait pas. Ensuite, elle dit qu'elle allait m'attacher avec une ceinture. J lui ai répondu que j'aimais fichais et elle demande à son cousin de porter la ceinture, mais il refuse. J étais totalement inquiet et perturbé et J suis à la manger. Après cela, J suis parti dormir. Je ne sais pas si était à côté d'elle car à ce moment-là, J elle mais tellement. Pendant les nuits que j'ai passé chez elle m'a fait écouter des musiques pour enfants, elle parlait avec moi, créant beaucoup de moments agréables entre nous. Je sais pertinemment qu'à la base, elle n'avait pas de mauvaises intentions, du moins si était si qu'elle semblait vouloir montrer. Je me souviens aussi d'un événement marquant où elle m'a dit qu'elle allait dire à mes parents que j'avais cassé un vase, si que je n'avais pas fait. J'avais environ Hewitt en à l'époque. J'ai écouté l'audio du téléphone et bien que si ni soit pas la voix de mon père, je pensais que son téléphone pouvait errer en panne. À l'instant où elle a dit casser, je me suis mise à pleurer, si que conduit à une distance entre nous. Je suis descendu chez mes parents pour rapporter si qu'elle avait fait. Ils m'ont répondu qu'elle rigolait. Chaque fois que je racontais si qu'elle me faisait, on me disait que si était juste une plaisanterie. Sa sœur cadette ma duxim cousin m'a dit que j'exagérais. Les réactions et tout ce qui s'y passait sur place m'énervaient terriblement. Un autre élément marquant a it lorsqu'elle m'a encore dit qu'elle allait mettre son pied dans ma bouche devant tout le monde. En incluant ma tante, ma mère, mon père et mes cousins, il n'y manquait que son père. Personne n'a riga. Plus tard que ma mère déclare que j'avais bien fait de lui répondre, car je lui avais dit que si elle le faisait, j'aurais envie de crier vassoyes. Elle répétait cette phrase en riant, et je commençais à me sentir de plus en plus guerne sans que personne n'y made. Je n'y comprenais rien sa manière de s'exprimer était un peu sadique. En y repensant, la suite des événements, où elle m'a attaché dans le drap, pour avoir une forme de vengeance pour les soirs où je jouais, avec elle et où elle aurait voulu que je continue à la chatouiller au moment où il était temps de dormir. Je ne sais pas si elle relate ces deux éléments, mais rien n'a jamais été clairement dit. J'avais l'impression de mériter ce qui s'y produisait, du moins c'est ce que j'ai pense longtemps en grandissant. Je me souviens également de cet incident. Sachant que cette période j'avais une attirance pour les pieds, mais elle n'en avait pas conscience. Personne n'a rigé comme mentionné précédemment, et à aucun moment je n'ai exprimé ce que je ressentais. Elle aurait pu rire tenter une approche, mais au final je me suis senti seul et humilié. Je me rappelle aussi d'une autre situation où j'ai vu un enfermeur sur la terrasse, ce qui m'a causé une grande souffrance psychologique. Je ne sais pas si ce souvenir est un rêve ou une réalité, mais je devrais en discuter avec elle. Je me rappelle qu'elle plaisantait en disant qu'elle allait me laisser dehors sous la pluie ou qu'elle préférait que je n'y goûte pas aux Ferrero, avec une légère menace si je ne lui en donnais pas. Bien que je savais qu'elle rigolait, j'ai répondu que je lui donnerais quand même, ce qui a pris une tournure bizarre. En rétrospective, je pense qu'elle ne voulait pas vraiment de mal. Je sais qu'elle avait des intentions ludiques, mais la question demeure, si qu'elle a fait est pardonnable, qui est réellement fautif dans cette situation, qu'orient du faire mes parents, quels agent les actions appropriées et comment devrais-je me comporter avec ma cousin si je la revois, est ici du de l'abysse ou de la maltraitance. Je vous remercie d'avance pour vos réponses. Je vous demande de répondre avec respect et sérieux. J. Aimerai simplement parvenir à une conclusion sur cette histoire et comprendre comment je devrais agir, afin de prendre véritable conscience de ce qui est passeport mieux le jureur. Merci à tous ceux qui prendront le temps de m'aider. Story 3. From overachiever to lost cause, I don't even know why I wanted to be a doctor. Was it just for the prestige? At 19, I went from top of my class to failing NEET 3 times. With everyone disappointed, I'm terrified I've been a fraud all along. Can I ever find my way back? My credentials, 19 years old. I have consistently placed first in every inter-school competition, debates, coding, and so forth, though it is not a big deal. Board, Central Board of Secondary Education. 10th grade, 99%, 12th grade, 96.5% physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology. Mocks in Akesh, never below 640, I have never reached 700, but I have always placed under all India rank 1200, at least among the top 10 in my center. National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test 1, 400. National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test 2, 500. National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test 3, may decrease this time and I am struggling. Ever since 2020, I have not been studying effectively. Throughout my schooling from grade 1 to grade 12, I consistently ranked first every single time. However, I genuinely believe I did not work hard for it. It came naturally. Perhaps my peers were not formidable competitors, but I never felt intense pressure to excel. Winning was simply a result. I know this may sound pathetic, but I can honestly describe numerous incidents and resources that excited me. I learned application in class without practice and achieved full scores. I never took pride in this because winning never felt earned. My lack of ego, combined with a passion for studies, made me somewhat beloved by all, including my peers. When teachers granted me scholarships or free books, I would cry in the hallways. I never looked at the hoarding outside the school with my name on it. Everything felt awkward throughout my life. But this is all I have ever been, the exemplary student in the room. Due to that, my parents became very attached to my achievements, both academic and extracurricular. They have been this way for as long as I can remember. They would become angry if I ever expressed even a hint of doubt about securing the top position. I still recall the first time I felt fear in 4th grade when I scored 43 out of 50 and my mother became very upset. Or in 2nd grade when I did poorly in the Olympiads and my father said, "You won't get into a good college like this." I grew up under the pressure that being average was not sufficient or something I could afford. I have never failed. However, I accomplished it all without truly developing the work ethic to support it. I do not actually remember ever working hard. In 11th grade, the COVID year, I did not study much and still achieved 98%. In 12th grade, I loved studying immensely. Man, I miss school, Akesh, and good learning environments. I mean, I enjoyed the material throughout my schooling, but perhaps by the end of the academic year, I burned out. I recall feeling that my syllabus was not even completed before the board exams. I thought I would not even surpass 90%, but thanks to the lenient checking by the CBSE, I tied with another girl at 96%. Everyone was pleased. Then came the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test 2023. I did not prepare adequately. I was overwhelmed with anxiety, ashamed of my peers surpassing me, and seriously considered ending my life. My parents gave me another chance. They allowed me to take a year off to reattempt the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. However, instead, I entered my first relationship for 8 difficult months, wasted my year, did not study, skipped offline classes because I was embarrassed about falling behind, and avoided teachers who knew I was in a dropout year. I was not even writing mocks. I made excuses and I failed the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test twice. This hit me hard. Somehow I managed to score an 89 percentile in the joint entrance examination that year. While not excellent, it was decent, I suppose. My parents enrolled me in a Tier 4 engineering college. I hated it. I felt entirely out of place, surrounded by people who did not share my dreams or drive. It felt as if I had been thrown in with individuals I could not connect with, stuck doing something that was not even my passion. I began to wonder if I truly had any intelligence or if I had merely coasted by on reputation. Yet, I was in the top 10 at my coaching institute as well. Everyone else moved on. I stayed back, clinging to my so-called pride and dignity, and I dropped out of that engineering college. Deep down, I still understand that I desire something greater, medicine or research from a good college that lives up to the legacy I once established. But currently I feel worthless and deluded. This will be my 3rd attempt at the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. Honestly, I have not studied properly. It is unlikely to go well. I feel disgusted with myself because I am trapped physically and mentally, stuck with the same old material. I cannot even bring myself to read the same chapters again. It is so exhausting. I swear on everything, I believe I could have passed the national eligibility cum entrance test on my second attempt, even this time if I had simply been able to study. No one understands this. I never realized how to study because I never needed to. I did not develop resilience because I never needed to. School was easy for me. I either obsessively pursue something and devote myself fully to it or I do not care at all. The most frustrating part is that if I cannot do something well the first time, I do not want to try again because I usually got things right on the first try and therefore never learn to deal with disappointment. But now everyone sees me for who I truly am. I have lost everyone. I feel as if I was respected only because I achieved good grades, but now I am no longer the golden child. I waste time. I do not study. I do not work out of passion, only for grand dreams and empty words. Sometimes I wonder if I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but perhaps that is just another excuse to avoid accountability. Chasing excellence has left me feeling completely empty. I do not think I can endure the fall from grace. I am also preparing for the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research entrance exam in May, but honestly, it feels meaningless. Perhaps I wanted to be a doctor solely for the prestige. My mother holds doctors in high regard. Everyone around me still sees me as a prospective doctor, and perhaps I am just pretending as well. I no longer know, everything feels like a lie. There are too many external and internal struggles within me. I have let myself down, I feel trapped. I experience anxiety so severe at times that my body feels heavy, my arms resist moving, I lose my appetite, and I cannot tolerate sounds or conversations. This has been ongoing since the end of 12th grade. Please do not sugarcoat anything, be honest, be harsh with me. I could have succeeded, but I chose not to. From being the model child for my brother and everyone else, I have become someone who does not even try anymore. They now see the real me. I cannot even recall the last time I truly made an effort. I am exhausted, yet I am also doing absolutely nothing about it. It is not as if I watch videos or anything, I merely wander around. In the past I had some strength, but now it is all gone. I do not even understand why I wanted to be a doctor. Perhaps it was solely to maintain that constant image of being the best, the smartest, the hardest worker, the exemplary child validated by academic achievement. After the Bachelor of Technology debacle, I realized, yes, money is important. I want to live comfortably and I wish to earn well. However, suffocating myself by choosing a degree or career merely for financial reasons destroys me within. I cannot pursue Bachelor of Technology. I love biology. I cannot force myself into fields devoid of passion. I need an environment where I can learn and feel alive again, just as I did at my coaching institute. Everything feels pathetic, but that is the only way I will ever regain my enthusiasm. Otherwise, I fear I will be nothing without academic success. Everyone is disappointed now. No one sees me in the same light, and in a few months I will officially be 3 years behind my peers. What should I do? How should I proceed? Should I consult a doctor? Should I take medication? Is it too late for me? Do you see any chance left? Because right now I do not. And somewhere deep down, there is also this horrifying memory. In second grade, a teacher once handed me an answer sheet to deliver to another class. I peeked at it. Perhaps I have been cheating my way up, evading shortcuts since then. Maybe I was never as brilliant as everyone believed. Perhaps my first place titles in school were merely because my name begins with P and there was no one from the A category who scored higher. Maybe it was all a deception. I read my old journal entries and they bring me to tears, reflecting how long I have remained stagnant. I have wasted 2 years. My father will say I should have remained in that terrible college, and my mother will face her ego death as she will have no good news to share with her friends or siblings. Uncles and aunts are halfway convinced that I am no longer that intelligent and that I do not work, as are my siblings. So are my distant relatives and grandparents. This leads to anger, shame, and guilt. I feel ill. I feel like a fraud. I feel lazy and dead inside. My identity and passions were so deeply intertwined with who I was that I no longer know who I am. Please, just somebody hit me or tell me what to do. Story 4. My boss is living dangerously, handling notorious politicians and shady bankers like he's playing chess. You think you're untouchable? One sneered. My boss shot back. Just wait until I publish your emails. Is he a genius or just playing with fire? I can't tell. Not an English speaker. This time is incredibly stressful for me at my company due to our organization's renewal contracts with our largest clients. However, fortunately, the hell week has passed, and our 10 biggest clients have already renewed their contracts, so I thought things were starting to settle down until today. I have always viewed my boss as a tough but fair individual. He is someone who does not tolerate foolishness, and if you make him angry, he does not hesitate to terminate your employment. Therefore, he is not someone to take lightly. I frequently work with him on contracts, clients, and the finances of our company, so I believed I understood him well. He may be a peculiar individual, but he appeared to be acceptable. He embodies the most realistic and accurate definition of the word genius. His speed and method of working are unlike anything I have ever seen, and I genuinely swear that I have never encountered anyone like him. To illustrate, a week ago he discovered that a substantial sum of money was disappearing into a black hole of offshore accounts, fraudulent companies, and dubious places. In just 5 hours, he reviewed the last 15 years of our company's finances and tracked down everything like an automaton. I know this because I was assisting him in this matter, and I can assure you that following his speed and precision is nearly impossible. However, he does struggle with physical touch, eye contact, and tends to come across as cold and monotone. As I mentioned, he resembles a machine. Now, having provided this brief description of him, I will get straight to the point. Today, there was a continuous flow of people in and out of his office, which is not unusual since he always has someone seeking something from him. However, what caught my attention today was the type of individuals present in his office. Some of them I had to research online because I was unfamiliar with them, but most of the others are well known in my country. I still do not understand what kind of relationship he has with these individuals, as politicians, bankers, and entrepreneurs do not typically seek the assistance of a vice chief financial officer. The strangest part was that none of them appeared particularly happy, and they all engaged in arguments with him regarding finances and various interests. I desperately want to report everything, but I will focus on the one conversation that remains vivid in my mind. It was a discussion between my boss and a politician who has been in the headlines for bribery and connections with individuals involved in illegal activities. When the man arrived, he was holding a folder, barged into my boss's office, and was already furious, shouting. The man exclaimed, "What is this nonsense?" My boss responded, "First, calm down and lower your voice. We are not in some kind of circus, so please stop your clown act and tell me what you want." The man continued, "What I want, huh? Explain to me what this is and why you did this." He slid the folder across my boss's desk, and after glancing at the first page, my boss replied, "This is the exact report of your activities." Did you actually believe I would not conduct a background check on you and your business? Seriously, if you think that, I suggest you reconsider, as you are more delusional than you realized. The man retorted, "What does this mean? Are you attempting to threaten me? Because if so, I can end your trivial career right here and now." My boss replied, "Oh, you wish, you pathetic loser. Do you want to try to intimidate me? Go ahead, but let me warn you that if you do, I am legally obligated to publish those documents, and we will see who is in charge here. So do you want to test me, clown?" The man responded, "Listen, kid, let's not be too quick to judge." My boss interrupted, "I have never judged anyone in my life. You came to me a year ago begging for my help, and I provided it. But if you think you can now control me, you do not understand who you are dealing with." The man replied, "You ungrateful piece of work. I hired you to do your job, and this is how you repay me, by threatening me." My boss stated, "Let me be crystal clear. You are not the first clown to enter my office trying to scare me into submission. I have a reputation here for a reason, so do not think for a second that you can intimidate me. Do you understand? Because in 2 hours, this folder will be all over the news." The man exclaimed, "You," my boss interrupted again, "Okay, calm down. What do you want from me?" The man answered, "How can I be calm if my face is plastered all over the news?" "Huh," my boss replied, "By allowing me to do my job while you do yours. You came to me with a problem, and I have already contacted the appropriate people to deal with it. So now you need to wait and stop acting like a 6-year-old throwing a tantrum." The man warned, "If you say so, I will just remember who I am." My boss replied, "Oh, I know very well who you are, you piece of garbage. Just because you paid me for a job does not make you a god or entitled to threaten me." The man insisted, "I paid you, I gave you millions, and all I want is for this charade to disappear." My boss stated, "It will happen, just wait and let the truth unfold. Now get out of my office and return to your women, as I know you enjoy wasting your money on them." The man, clenching his fists as he walked out, muttered, "Fucking psycho. He thinks he is untouchable and superior." He then stormed out of my boss's office and left, but when I immediately glanced into my boss's office, I saw him looking at the man leaving and laughing. Another incident that undoubtedly caught my attention occurred when an extremely dubious banker entered his office. This individual's bank has a reputation for dealing with money from shady individuals and financing politicians, presumably mafia members and others involved in similar activities. However, every time there is an investigation, magically, nothing is ever found. Therefore, you can imagine my surprise when I saw him entering my boss's office. Although I could not hear their conversation clearly, I did catch snippets. After about 15 minutes, security was called because the man could clearly be heard yelling phrases like, "You do not know who I am, so do not try to fool me," or "Just because you are good with numbers does not mean you are a god and can threaten anyone you please." Eventually, after about an hour, I heard my boss say, I know exactly what kind of man you are. You believe that because you know a few relatively important people, you are a god, but spoiler alert. I can make your emails and bank transfers public so that everyone will know exactly who you are, and we will see if you maintain your arrogant demeanor with me. The man snapped back, I paid you 140 million to resolve this issue, so do not speak to me as though you are a saint because you are not. If I go down, you go down with me. Is that clear, you arrogant psychopath? My boss chuckled, do you genuinely believe that? I doubt you have read the clauses of our contract, hahaha. A moment later, I overheard the man shout, you manipulative bastard, you changed those clauses. That is illegal. You manipulated the documents. My boss replied, would you like to see the recordings from when we signed the papers? More yelling from the man ensued, and just before going down the stairs, he shouted at my boss, loud enough for everyone to hear, you are not the saint you pretend to be, and when you make a false move, I will expose you. My boss countered, you wished, you loser. After all this, how could anyone not think that my boss is involved in some questionable relationships? He may not be a saint, but from what I have witnessed, he is quite legendary for his toughness and his tendency to always have a backup plan. Legendary indeed, hahaha.